The sun rose slowly over a small, quiet town. The streets were calm, and the air was cool and fresh. Birds sang softly on the trees near the houses. In one small house lived a young man named Adam. Adam was not rich, and his life was simple. Every morning, he woke up early, but his heart felt heavy. He felt the same every day, as if nothing in his life would ever change. Adam sat on his bed and looked at the wall. The paint was old, and there were small cracks, but the room was clean. He rubbed his eyes and took a deep breath. Today felt like every other day, yet something inside him felt a little different. He did not know why. He stood up, washed his face, and looked at himself in the mirror. His eyes looked tired, but there was still a small light in them. He went to the kitchen and made a cup of tea. The sound of boiling water filled the room. Adam liked this sound because it made him feel calm. He held the warm cup in his hands and stood near the window. Outside, he saw people walking to work, children going to school, and shopkeepers opening their stores. Life was moving, even if his own life felt slow. Adam worked in a small shop at the corner of the street. The job was not exciting, but it paid enough to live. Many times, he thought about leaving the job and finding something better, but fear stopped him. He was afraid of failure. He was afraid of change. So every day, he chose the same road, the same job, and the same routine. After finishing his tea, Adam put on his jacket and stepped outside. The morning air touched his face, and he felt awake. As he walked, he noticed small things he usually ignored. A flower growing between two broken stones. A cat sleeping in the sun. An old man smiling while sweeping the road. These small moments made Adam slow his steps. At the shop, Adam opened the door and arranged the items on the shelves. Customers came and went. Some smiled, some looked tired, and some did not speak at all. Adam greeted everyone politely. Inside, he felt empty, but he kept his smile. During a quiet moment, he sat on a chair and looked outside through the glass door. He remembered his childhood dreams. He wanted to travel, to learn new things, and to live a meaningful life. Over time, those dreams became quiet, like voices fading far away. Life felt safe but small. Adam wondered if this was all his life would ever be. Around noon, a young boy came into the shop. The boy looked happy and full of energy. He asked Adam many questions about the items in the shop. Adam answered kindly. Before leaving, the boy smiled and said, "Have a good day." Those simple words stayed in Adam's mind longer than he expected. During lunch break, Adam sat on a bench outside the shop. He ate his simple meal and watched the sky. White clouds moved slowly, changing shape again and again. Adam thought about how clouds never stay the same. They move freely, without fear. This thought made his heart feel lighter. For the first time in a long while, Adam asked himself an honest question. What if tomorrow could be different? What if he tried something new, even something small? The idea scared him, but it also made him feel alive. After work, Adam walked home by a different street. It was a longer way, but it felt fresh. He passed a small library he had never entered before. He stopped and looked at the door. For a moment, he stood still. His heart beat faster. Then he pushed the door open and walked inside. The library was quiet and warm. The smell of books filled the air. Adam felt peace. He walked between the shelves and touched the books gently. He chose a simple book and sat down to read. As he read, time passed without him noticing. His mind felt open, and his worries felt smaller. When Adam left the library, the sky was orange and pink. The sun was going down, but inside Adam, something was rising. He smiled to himself. It was a small smile, but it was real. At home, Adam cooked dinner and ate slowly. He thought about the day. Nothing big had happened, yet everything felt different. He wrote a few lines in an old notebook. He wrote about the morning, the boy in the shop, the clouds, and the library. Writing made his thoughts clear. Before sleeping, Adam looked out of the window once more. The town was quiet again. Lights shone softly in the houses. Adam felt thankful. He understood that hope does not always come as a big change. Sometimes, hope comes as a small step, a new thought, or a simple choice. As Adam lay in bed, he felt calm. Tomorrow would still have problems, but it would also have new chances. He closed his eyes with a gentle smile. A new morning would come, and with it, new hope. Emma lived a quiet and simple life in a small town near a river. Every day followed the same pattern. She woke up early, cleaned her small room, made breakfast, and went to work at a local bakery. The smell of fresh bread filled her mornings, and the sound of the river followed her thoughts. Her life was safe, calm, and predictable, but deep inside, Emma felt something was missing. Emma had always been careful. She never took risks and never tried anything new. She believed that a small, careful life was better than a big life full of problems. Because of this, she stayed in the same job for many years. She smiled at customers, counted money, and cleaned the bakery at the end of the day. People liked her because she was kind and polite, but very few people really knew her. One morning, as Emma walked to work, she noticed a small paper on the ground. It was a colorful flyer. She picked it up and read it slowly. It said there was a free evening class at the community center. The class was about learning basic English speaking and storytelling. Emma held the paper in her hand for a long time. She had always wanted to improve her English, but she was afraid of making mistakes. At the bakery, Emma could not stop thinking about the flyer. She placed bread on the shelves, served customers, and cleaned tables, but her mind was busy. She remembered her school days when she loved reading stories and sharing them with friends. Over time, that love faded as life became serious and busy. During her break, Emma sat near the river and looked at the water. The river moved forward without stopping. It did not turn back. Emma thought about her own life. She felt like she was standing still while time moved on. The flyer was still in her pocket. She took it out and read it again. The evening class was starting that very day. Emma felt nervous. Her heart beat faster as she imagined herself sitting in a room full of people. She worried about speaking in front of others. She worried about being laughed at. But she also felt a small excitement growing inside her. After work, Emma went home and stood in front of the mirror. She talked to herself quietly in English, practicing simple sentences. She made mistakes and laughed softly. It felt strange but also nice. For the first time in a long time, she felt curious and alive. When the evening came, Emma walked slowly toward the community center. With each step, fear and hope walked together inside her. The building was small and welcoming. Lights were on, and she could hear soft voices from inside. Emma stopped at the door. She almost turned back, but then she remembered the river and how it never stopped moving. She opened the door and walked in. Inside the room, there were people of different ages. Some looked confident, and some looked nervous, just like Emma. The teacher smiled warmly and asked everyone to introduce themselves. When it was Emma's turn, her hands shook slightly, but she spoke. Her voice was quiet, but her words were clear. No one laughed. Instead, people smiled and listened. The class was simple and friendly. They told short stories, learned new words, and helped each other. Emma made mistakes, but she learned that mistakes were part of learning. With each sentence, her confidence grew. She felt proud of herself for staying. After the class ended, Emma walked home under the stars. The night felt different. The town felt brighter, and her steps felt lighter. She realized that one small choice had changed her evening, and maybe even her future. Days turned into weeks, and Emma kept going to the class. She started speaking more confidently. She made new friends and shared stories from her life. Her world slowly grew bigger. She began reading English books and listening to English stories at home. At the bakery, Emma also changed. She smiled more and talked more. Customers noticed her new energy. One day, a customer asked her where she learned English. Emma smiled and told her about the class. She felt proud, not shy. One afternoon, the teacher asked the students to tell a longer story. Emma felt nervous again, but she accepted the challenge. She told a story about the river, her quiet life, and the small flyer that changed everything. Her classmates listened closely. When she finished, they clapped. Emma felt warmth in her heart and tears in her eyes. Emma understood something important that day. Big changes do not always start with big actions. Sometimes, they start with one small choice. Picking up a paper, opening a door, saying one sentence. That night, Emma sat near the river and watched the water shine under the moonlight. She felt thankful for her courage. Life was still simple, but it was no longer small. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but she was ready. Emma walked home with confidence in her heart. She had learned that fear does not disappear, but it becomes smaller when you move forward. And sometimes, one small choice truly can change everything.